Hello. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Happy Thursday. Get your happy on show and hashtag happy laugh hour, where we want to make sure that you're getting your laughs in for the day, your daily dose of laughter medicine, let's say. So I am your host, Olivia, savvy social humorist. And today's topic is going to be really interesting. So you want to make sure that you're staying to the very end because we've got major breaking news and from Dr. Ann K. Schafer, who's with me today. And if you've ever wondered, is there such a thing as a happy pill, and where you might be able to get your hands on such a thing, the happy pill, you've come to the right place, because we're going to share all the wonderful news that's come about, some recent scientific developments. So my guest today is Dr. Ann K. Schafer. She is a licensed clinical psychologist, a trauma therapist with a specialty in neuropsychology. And she has such an amazing range of experience working across, 3 different colleges and 7 hospitals. And research and academia is her life saga, she will say. And I've been having so much fun getting to know her. She's one of my fellow co-authors in the Cinderella's Monologues. You heard me talk about this book a lot. We've been, doing a whole month-long promotions for paperback release and ebook. And it's all really coming together. And Dr. Ann is one of the people that I got to interview for the author spotlights of the Cinderella Monologues. And she's here with me again because her topic and all the information that she's found throughout her trauma research really will tie in today, talking about happiness, humor, and finding resilience in the midst of adversity. So please, everyone, help me welcome Dr. Ann. Hello, Dr. Ann.
Thank you so much, Olivia. We have been having fun, haven't we? Just looking at research and looking at all the things that bring healing and bring resilience is really the product of adversity. So when you think adversity is bad, well, think again, because it does lead to resilience in the end. So that's a good thing. Thank you so much for having me here today to talk about when bad things happen to good kids and good people.
Yes, thank you, because I know you just came fresh off of a speaker showcase presenting that very same topic. So please share with us your experience, in speaking about this very topic.
Well, I'm so excited because this is a passion of mine. I think we've talked before, and you know that our unmet childhood needs are where our personality gets formed, especially barriers to our personality expression. So not a day does go by that we don't notice both world and local news reports just chock full of adverse happenings, like climate change, natural disasters, good Lord, economic distress, wars, homelessness, drug trafficking, and sex trafficking. Well, that's just to name a few. You can name several more. But children, youth, teens, and adults alike, and elders are all subject to the effects of what is often grouped under that one big general label, trauma. So turns out that California was a leader in a very, very large study about what contributes to a heightened awareness of the epidemic of trauma. And some say trauma is the real terrorist in America and maybe in the world. So stress isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as the stress is not chronic or toxic. The PTSD that brings you flashbacks and things like that, that's kind of hard to deal with. But all animals, like human beings, we're an animal, we're wired to experience threats to our safety because that's how we stay alive. Our physical bodies receive danger signals through a long cranial nerve that goes down and up our body. The vagus nerve is what people get the fight or flight response with. They have the faint or flee. Those are 4 things the vagus nerve tells us to do. You're either going to be so scared you flee, or you faint. You might freeze, like go completely numb. There's people that survived a war because they played dead, Well, the opossum still does that. So if you crossed the street and you heard a honking of a horn, maybe the tires screech, you would quickly jump up on the curb or something, but your pulse would quicken, your eyes dilate, and your hearing gets more acute because you've detected danger, and you're supposed to do that. That's how we stay alive. Fear saves you, actually. And as long as that threat passes and you can jump back up on the curb and go on your way, your body then returns to a more normal state. Your pulse will go down and your respiration will go to normal. But your mind has interpreted for you that the danger is avoided and life may go on. Now, that's just normal stress. But how about cases of acute stress, like a death or a natural disaster? That's a little bit more of a difficult way to get back to normal, because then the vagus nerve suddenly gets a little more involved with hypervigilance. You have noticed everything. Instead of going back to normal right away, you might have an exaggerated startle response. Have you ever had something happen and then somebody walks in the room and you jump? Well, that happens to everybody. So an overreaction or even a misperception could happen, like a simple insect bite on your hand might result in a kind of phobia that's really far beyond the real threat. Maybe you get scared you're going to have West Nile virus or something. So that's a little different, and that'll take a little more time to get over. And then there's a third kind of stress, and that's chronic fear or stress. And that results from something that's an extended exposure to threats, like bullying in the playground, repeated neglect of children, and yelling and fighting in families, or conflict in the workplace over and over and over again. In those cases, the body could respond by just going numb, tuning out. Sometimes even that kind of tuning out gets mistaken for attention deficit disorder, loss of that. Could be rage, could be social withdrawal, or overcorrection for what just happened or keeps happening. I'll tell a story about a young teacher in a second grade classroom, and she had a student that was using swear words and inappropriate language in the classroom. So she was afraid the other kids were going to try to model after her. And so she took a chance and mentioned it to the parent, and the parent hopefully could work at home on it a little bit while she worked at school on it. So the next day, after she talked to the parent, the child came to school and she had red eyes. She'd obviously had puffy cheeks. She'd been crying. So the teacher gently went over to her and said, "What happened, my dear?" She cried and she said, "My mom put hot sauce on my tongue." Whoa. That's just like an overcorrection, and no need to do that. But boy, that was a lesson for that young teacher in that classroom about behavior modification. Then there's another level of trauma, and you can see it matters what you do with trauma. It's complex trauma, and that's where you get the post-traumatic stress disorder. It involves more long-lasting effects, like in cases of mass shootings, car accidents, refugee relocations, for example, or veterans returning from war. This kind of trauma level includes perpetual mourning. People go into a long-term grief, a depression, a chronic pain, concentration problems, probably some sleep disturbance, maybe nightmares, and irritability in the daytime. So in that case, we conclude that trauma may indeed result from an unsuccessful internal or external resource as a coping measure. So the big study in California was with Kaiser Permanente Health Group and also the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. This was called the ACEs study. ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And for every childhood experience that is a threat to safety, there's 1 point given. And the higher the score, the more you're your adverse health will, your health will be at risk. And I'll tell you a little tiny bit more about that, because it's unbelievable that people didn't figure this out before this big study. But adverse childhood experiences are linked actually to brain abnormalities and smoking, drinking, drug use, injurious psychosocial behaviors. Stress hormones are too elevated too long. And the resulting health issues are, imagine this, heart disease, obesity, COPD, cancer, diabetes, and strokes. These are all from 2 times more likely to happen to 4 times more likely to happen. And they have now proven this with this study. So it's only recently been known that the highest correlation of adverse childhood experiences, now nobody has perfect parents, but when a child is repeatedly criticized or repeatedly hit or sees hitting, if they see domestic violence in the home, guess what? 2 times more the risk of heart disease, 2 times more the risk of cancer, 2.5 times more the risk of stroke, 4 times the risk of COPD, chronic pulmonary disease, and 4 times the greater risk of obesity and diabetes. Now, this is when those children that had the adverse conditions became adults. And unfortunately, well, at least we're this far. We're at the point of recognizing the health risks, but recognition isn't enough. Even though the information in that study was 20 years ago, and this information has been out and about, it's just like when the links from cigarette smoking were linked to cancer, and they had a fight getting that little message on the package of cigarettes that said, if you smoke these, it will kill you. And it was a fight. Tobacco companies fought it. I was certainly watching all that and hope that you might be too. But and also, how long did it take to prove that not wearing seat belts was dangerous and would result in greater injuries? So that ACE awareness is, the awareness is growing, but I'm going to tell you something shocking now, so get ready. There is not one class, not a single class in medical school about the health effects related to adverse childhood experiences. Well, this can't change too soon, can it? Not one class can be found in a medical school.
Even with like child psychology, if someone was to study
Well,
child
we're talking about MDs. We're talking about the people who treat these diseases. Not one class in it. Don't you find that shocking?
It is very shocking, yes.
Well, this too will change in time, but all the best we've been able to do now is we've started to have surgeon generals at the state level. California does have one. 15 states have a surgeon general, and they're busy working on this because they know about this. But imagine that, all this time, and all we have to do is we need to pass this book out. Oprah Winfrey wrote a book called What Happened to You? And she wrote this with an MD because, of course, Oprah has divulged that she had childhood abuse. And so you all have noticed that she's been up and down and all around with her weight. And that is definitely connected. So many great strides are in place to show that we cannot continue to ignore this to have a healthier world. And the answer is to teach resilience after we teach awareness. And too bad we're just at the awareness stage, but that's the way it is. And this is a rapidly developing field, and that's why I call myself a trauma therapist and a neuropsych researcher, because I got to do something because I've learned that adversity does breed resilience. Remember that. Adversity does breed resilience. So there are things we can do to combat this. I'll just give you one real quick economic result of what this costs. in the world per year. I don't know if you can imagine this or not, but the monetary cost to not preventing this childhood adversity is $3 trillion a year. I don't even know what $1 trillion is. What is that like? I think it's about the military budgets of every country or something like that.
A lot of zeros.
Okay.
A lot of zeros. For sure.
Well, yeah, it's 3,000 billion. Yeah, that's right. I don't even know what a billion is, but $1 trillion? Oh my God. It's we're lucky to get this far with helping our vagus nerve and our preventing brain trauma. You would think that the physicians, knowing this, would work a little harder, but if you don't treat the root cause, you won't get the trauma handled. There are, I'm putting on my website a list of 6 ways you can treat trauma with no medication. We know that we've had medication, but did you know that antidepressants are only effective with 30% of the people that take them? Another amazing fact. I did so much of this research. I mean, I keep going, oh my gosh, and I'll be surprised with one more thing. But I will tell you, you did call this Get Your Happy On. So as I was thinking, how am I going to bring people out of the trauma of just knowing about this? It's kind of traumatic to hear these numbers. So I'll tell you about the natural ways to deal with it. I'm going to put a little list of 6 ways you can handle dealing with trauma on my website. And I'll tell you real quickly a few of the things people already know: sleep hygiene, nutrition, exercise, mindfulness, meditation, mental health practices, healthy relationship practices, healthy workplace practices, psychotherapy, self-compassion. There is a program called EMDR that's effective, and it doesn't take medication. Yoga is also breathing, movement, that helps. Theater and movement also helps. Neurofeedback is another no meds, but it's paying attention to your biofeedback from the brain. That's very effective. And of course, there are some psychedelics. But I want to tell you about this amazing thing. This is your big treat for the day. How about the scientific discovery of the bliss molecule? I learned about this because one of the producers of this last show I was on said, when she heard what I was going to talk about, she said, I hope you're going to leave people with a lot of hope at the end. So I went out looking for some more research and what was working. Well, I came across this miracle bliss molecule. So here you go. Science has confirmed that a neurotransmitter called anandamide can extinguish stress, anxiety, fear, pain, and insomnia. There's a vast network of these receptors, these little, receptor neurons throughout the body that was discovered by an Israeli scientist. His name is Dr. Raphael Mecholam. I hope I said it right. And this network of receptors is in the brain and primarily in the immune system. Now, this receptor system has one purpose: balance, harmony, and equanimity between mind and body. And this researcher is also the one who is credited with unlocking the medicinal miracle of the hemp plant. And of course, this is cannabis, cannabinoid, without the THC. There's a cannabinoid with THC and one without. Well, this is the one without, so there's no psychedelic effects. And only the calming of your mind and the lifting of your spirit is what is experienced. Now, didn't you always want a happy pill? Come on, fess up. I did. So guess what I did? This is available as a supplement now, and it is legal in all 50 states, thanks to the 2018 Farm Bill that made it legal to grow it. And you know what I did. I'm sure you do. I ordered it. It's coming in the mail soon.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Ann, thank you for that. Just fascinating, just glimpse into your life's work. You know, explaining the range of trauma. I had no idea that you can trace it back to adverse childhood experiences and
Yep.
long-term effects that may have on adults and related side effects too. And I've always wondered if there was a happy pill, and I thought it was this. So let me show you. This is what I thought the happy pill was.
Okay. I want to see.
So that's my happy pill.
Very cute. Very cute.
So when I
Yeah.
was thinking about, your topic, I was like, oh, why already have it? It's these plush toys, and you can push the button. It has like these laughter sounds, and I love to pass these,
Oh, how cute. That
right?
would go over very big in schools. Yes.
Exactly. But I guess, you've discovered something amazing. And if you were just trying to like follow what Dr. Ann was sharing, I took some notes for you. So you'll thank me later. But here it is. There is a neurotransmitter called anandamide. And like what Dr. Ann was saying, the sole purpose is to maintain balance and harmony and equanimity between body and mind. Like that is just truly fascinating that we have this already internally. And it just needs a Neanderthal maybe to bring that about.
Well,
So
that's where there's a researcher that was in the supplement business, and he found out about this doctor. I forgot his name already, Bechamel. Anyway, he found out about it, and he said, "Well, I'm already in the supplement business. I'm sure I can make a supplement out of anandamide," and he did. So that one I bought, you have a little clip about it, I think. Yep, that's the one I bought. Yep. Well, I can't wait to give you a future report on it, because apparently it is no side effects, very available, very legal. And the way that they found out it was working in their lab, because they had to do some experiments first with producing the lab level of quality. So they were doing that, and he noticed this guy who invented the supplement, or put it together, whatever you do, not an invention, it's a patent though. And so he said he noticed all the samples were disappearing out of the lab. So he asked what was happening to them. And one guy had given some to his mother. You can read these stories on their website, but his mother was taking it, and she was a complainer, just a complainer. That's all there was to it. The only thing she ever did was her bridge club once a week, and the rest of the time she was complaining. So all of a sudden he noticed his mother wasn't complaining anymore. And it was like those stories that you read on the website, pretty amazing who was taking them on the sly out of the lab, because the workers were finding out that it really works. So I just think that's amazing. There's some funny stories. So when you want to read some funny stories, it's on that website.
excellent. And can you tell us a little bit about this word ananda? Why do they chose this word? What is the origin meaning of it?
Well, it is a Sanskrit word, and Sanskrit is a very spiritual language. It's all about spirituality, and Ananda means bliss. So that's why they said this is the bliss molecule. And the bliss anandamide is the substance that's sort of the bliss pill. And, everybody's saying this is one of the biggest medical miracles of all time. And who knows, maybe we'll see him get the Peace Prize or something, Nobel Prize.
Fantastic. Awesome. I'm so excited that you shared this with us today, Dr. Ann. I mean, I started this Get You Happy on show as a result of, my ongoing studies with the Humor Academy through the Association for Applied Therapeutic Humor. And one of the things that's on the horizon for me is to do a research study. So I'm very curious about how I can conduct some sort of study with a control group, experimental group with the Neanderthal, and maybe designing like a humor workout. One of the chapters I had to study as part of the curriculum was the humor workout. You know, like people need to be trained to have like a levity mindset or to have a more humor, positive outlook. Like you said, like now that we've got awareness, it's time to train on resilience. And so I'm thinking about how we can design this, you know, humor workout course.
Oh,
Plus
I
research.
hope I get to help. I just hope I get to help with it, because this is, for me, I saw so much stress with my students that had learning disorders and brain traumas. And of course, with the guys coming back from the wars and, you know, kids on the playground and then autism. There's all kinds of reasons for being teased as a child. And that is an adverse experience, you know? And also hearing that children mistreat their, or adults mistreat their children is heart wrenching. You know, you can't imagine it, but how could an adult lose their cool that much? And it's just sad as hell. And if we can give them something to make them a little happier parent, see, we don't even have to take a test to be a parent. If you want to drive a car, you got to take a test. But to be a parent, no, you don't have to know anything. So we need to do a little bit of, you know what, this Neanderthal, also they find that if you're taking it, you are more receptive to some therapy and learning about yourself, because even Socrates said, know thyself. The best work you can do with yourself is to know yourself, love yourself, treat yourself well. And because the adults that were having these children without any training or testing or instructions except their own parents, which maybe wasn't so good, then it would help to reparent yourself. And that's what we, in my psychotherapy program, the Soul Growth Solutions, that's exactly what we do. We teach people to learn who they are, learn what their purpose is, learn how to navigate, and then reparent themselves with new skills.
Yes, I'm so excited for the release of your Soul Growth Solutions and companion course, online course, diving deep into subpersonalities. I find that particular part of your research very interesting too.
Yeah, well, it's you know, it's fun. Instead of it being a workbook, it's a playbook, because learning who you are, and Shakespeare said it, all the world is a play, all of the world is, you know, and everybody's a character in it. You know, he said it differently, but it's all the world's a stage and all the players are characters in it. And you can navigate from the director's chair yourself, and you can look down on what's happening in your own life. And if you know who your players are, doesn't everybody have somebody in their life that is a critic? Or you maybe your own worst critic. Sometimes I am. But now I've learned to teach my critic to just be more of a coach. Even Jack Canfield does that with his training. And by the way, he claims that his psychosynthesis coach was one of his best mentors. That's one of the reasons for his success. And also, you also know that everybody has a saboteur subpersonality that was born out of unmet childhood needs. If you know the little voice that you have inside, everybody has it. So I know you have it. It's the voice that says you're not good enough, you can't do this, you're not smart enough, or don't have enough money, or whatever it is, whatever you're doing. The saboteur and the critic sometimes hold hands, but the saboteur has to be taught to be a better negotiator and a networker to, so that you can find out, how do people do it? If you don't know how, can you learn how from someone else? So again, you know, you're listening to other people instead of just your own stuff that didn't work anyway. And then of course we've got the rebel, And that's what we saw on January 6th. We saw all these people in these costumes. Honestly, think about it. They had costumes on. They called themselves by their subpersonalities the Proud Boys. They couldn't even be proud men. They were boys. They were right. They were boys. And there was the guy with the horns on, wasn't he? A Trip. He certainly had his rebel costume on. And all of them were wrapped up in this stage play. We've got to do whatever it was they wanted to do. But it was all born out of the unmet childhood needs to keep playing that role. I got to win. I got to win. They couldn't twist over to win, because really the success is a collaboration of people. Rebels have to learn to collaborate, because you have to hear what other people are saying. You have to say, what is it we can come together and do a win-win agreement with each other? Because life is a lot easier if you have win-win. And then, of course, the other one that we all have is the victim subpersonality. We talked about that before with Cinderella, kind of had a victim subpersonality, but she also had all the other subpersonalities that we all have. But yeah, Cinderella was definitely picked on, bullied by her stepsisters and her stepmother. But in the end, she just loved nature. Nature loved her back. And she also, it didn't matter. She did her chores and she whistled while she worked, right? We whistle while we work. And that, I mean, I think that there's a lot that can be learned with the fairy tales. Well, I know there is, but the fairy tales are little pictures, little vignettes of life. So I think Cinderella was a really wonderful monologue to write about. I had fun doing it, and I know yours was wonderful.
Indeed, thank you. And in thinking about, you've got me really thinking about the subpersonalities, and we did this whole, I mean, if you missed it, the author spotlight we did with Dr. Ann, we'll put the replay in the comments for you to go look at it, because we had a lot of fun just writing our own kind of thesis about Cinderella and exploring her subpersonalities. And the more I think about, this for myself, like I can really see like the critic, it's never like good enough, or
Yeah.
I was always had to be like a high achieving person. And I really had to work on changing that critic to becoming more of a coach.
Well, it's one of our tasks is to reparent ourselves. If we didn't get it from our own parents or teachers or mentors, then give it to yourself, because we can reparent ourselves. And we do this in small groups, usually about 4 people or 6 people. We have a group of people. And one of the things we use is this wonderful book that was written by my colleague, Dr. Vivian King. She wrote the theater playbook, and this is about the subpersonalities doing a theatrical production with your colleagues. You write your story, they write their story, each one performs for the other, and they involve each other in the production. The director is always you. The director is sitting up in the bleachers, watching all of the action, saying, oh no, I think this one is the critic and should be more of a coach. This one is, there's not just 4 subpersonalities, by the way. I call one of my most active subpersonalities Little Miss Perfect. And Little Miss Perfect, she could, with not too much coaching, she could probably clean the windowsills with a Q-tip, Did that make you laugh? Oh, that means you did it too, huh? Okay. Can you picture that?
Well, the image just came to me instantly, because I've heard of like, when I get punished, I had to clean the bathroom with a toothbrush. So,
oh yeah,
not the tooth. Oh, I was gonna say toothpick, but no, the Q-tip and window cleaning. Wow, like that's really minute. Yeah.
Oh, it's it can get really, and then the voices that come with it. The voices. They don't shut up, do they? But we can always use that adversity as an encouragement to resilience. What's the resilience we need to bring to the situation? Always think, what's the win-win? Because we need our subpersonalities. We have to have them. There's no bad parts of you. And in fact, if you didn't have your subpersonalities, you wouldn't be where you are today. You wouldn't have the skills you have. I wouldn't have the skills I have. I could have just stopped when my producer said, "Oh, I think you're going to leave people hopeless," And I could have stopped. But no, my get up and go, my one foot in front of the other motto is what I use. Yeah. And mostly, though, I just said, I can do one more search for healing and trauma, because I thought maybe there's something else new out there that I haven't seen. And I have these 6 I'm going to put on the website of things we can already do without medication. But when I came across this anandamide, the natural neurotransmitter that we all have receptors for, just going, "Where are you?" And when they hit the nucleus of the nerve, oh my God, okay, I'm ready.
I know, you have to let me know when your shipment comes in.
Well, you don't expect overnight success with anything, but I've heard from some of those stories in the testimonials that some people experienced it fairly quickly. It's a hemp plant, which is cannabis, but it's not the kind that gives you a high. They have cannabis 1 and cannabis 2. The one with THC is the one that's psychedelic, but this one is specifically the one that the doctor in Israel found. I hope he gets the Nobel Prize. If it's any good, I'll tune in and I'll let you know right away if I've. I don't want I don't want to get rid of my hard worker subpersonality. I like my hard worker subpersonality. Matter of fact, that's how I get going in writing. If I really do have a deadline, I have to go clean something first. And I've talked to other authors that are like that too. They have to go in, do the dishes or sweep the floor or something just to that gets your body moving, because your sensory system and your mental system and your physical system and your spiritual system all work together. And that's why I have that diamond shape, the 4 parts of you that must be at least engaged. And where you put your focus is, some days I need my mind to be in better shape. Some days I need my emotions to be more heartfelt, or maybe I need to go on a meditation, use heart math. Have you heard of heart math? Yes, that's a little biofeedback and thing. And did you know that it's on PBS right now?
No, I had no idea.
PBS, if you give a donation of a certain size to PBS, they will send you the heart math equipment. It's a biofeedback and it works.
Oh, wow.
I know, huh?
Wow. Do you have one? Did you get one yet?
I do, but I've had it for a long time and I use it in my practice.
And just to go back to that GPS system that you're referencing, we've got a slide, and this is available on Dr. Ann's website. So go to askdrann.com. It is the word doctor spelled out, so askdrann.com, and you'll be able to see this in full detail. But it is based off of Dr. Roberto Ascioli. And, I love it. I love this model so much regarding soul growth. So we're going to bring it up for everyone to see. There it is.
Yeah, there he is in the bottom, Dr. Ascioli, who was arrested by Mussolini in World War II because he was praying for peace in public. Imagine that. So, yeah, he spent 27 days in jail. He was a physician, a gifted physician. And he thought, well, I'll just start the prayer for peace, the meditation for peace, like we do now, And he was really ahead of his time, really ahead of his time. But he, in that 27 days in jail, where he didn't have a clock, he didn't have any way to tell what day it was or what time it was, but he had his mind and he had observations around him out the windows. He saw the pigeons fighting, and made some other kind of discovery about that. They called his work smiling wisdom. And so he finally, in the end of those 27 days, he had his whole GPS system mapped out. He would say, I have a mind, but I'm not my mind. I'm more than that. I have emotions, but I'm not my emotions either. I'm more than that. I have a body, but I'm not my body. You really are not all those parts, but all together, your spirit, your highest self, your soul self. In the middle, it talks about your essence, because your essence is like your DNA. You and I only have our own DNA, and you can map a person's DNA, and there's no two alike. So the whole idea of finding out who you are, so important. The soul self is about creating harmony within. So if you get all the parts working in harmony, then you don't have to do the January 6th thing. Well, my subpersonalities, they know each other well now. Of course, I've worked with this an awful long time. And the more you know about yourself and what your purpose is, and what your we have everybody make a will statement. Mine is about I have a will statement that is about being able to help people access more joy and more healing in order to thrive in a changing world. So if you know that that's what your purpose, everybody has a purpose. Maybe it's like my grandson, Ian, who's becoming an expert welder. He's going to be able to work with metal and either do art or fix water heaters. I don't know. But everybody has a calling, and it's very often not found when you're a teenager. You're too rebellious. So we have a real high suicide rate right now with teenagers for many reasons. But they're always explorers. Didn't you rebel a little when you were a teenager? Come on, Olivia.
Absolutely. I was such a rebel.
Yeah, I admit it. I did. But that's the time to do it, because you don't want to do it past the right time. Otherwise, it looks funny. Imagine a 40 or 50-year-old acting like a teenager. And we've all seen it, haven't we?
Oh my gosh. Excellent. There's something to be said. I mean, you keep saying it. It's fun to know yourself. It's fun to get to know your sub personalities and to work with them and to reparent them. And I love what you said earlier too about how, if you didn't get it from parents or family or school or teachers, give it to yourself, reparent yourself. And it's just like, that was a light bulb moment for me just now.
Well, this is the gift we have of aging. From aging to saging. Become a sage in your old age. I like that. So as we're elders, it is important to pass on this Asajoli's smiling wisdom to be able to thrive in changing world. That's it. It's always good. We can only count on a very few things, and one of those is change.
Exactly. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dr. Ann. This has been so amazing to sit down with you and explore more of this topic. I don't think there's any shortage of things we could talk about.
I love your interviews. You have very deep and thoughtful questions and comments, and I really appreciate that you like this enough to play with it a little, because it's really it's so fun. At the end of my training, which was almost a year long, of course it's a lifetime situation, but at the end of it we had a subpersonality party. So we came dressed as our most active subpersonality, and that was really fun. I came that time. I came as the martyr, And I was really into suffering, my suffering. And so I wore sackcloth, and I found a blow up world, one of those balloon or plastic globes, and I strapped it on my back because I was carrying the world on my shoulders, And so I did a lot of suffering. You have to overemphasize whatever your current issue, or I was definitely having a little struggle with my martyr. My martyr was doing a lot of whining. And see, you don't whine when you have a stiff upper lip and do one foot in front of the other. That was my motto when I was growing up. But I decided, well, maybe I could do a little whining. But you have to work with it because you need all your parts to be whole. You don't want to throw away anything. They were all put there for your benefit and for your growth. And subpersonalities, I once heard somebody that was a really famous speaker say that she wanted to bury her martyr. And I wanted to jump up and say, no, we don't get rid of our subpersonalities. We transform them. So transformation is what you want. Give them the instruction. Like the martyr needed to know it wasn't going to change anything to whine. But if she wants to learn a few extra tips on how to suffer well, I started reading this Pema Chodron. Have you ever heard of her? Oh, she has so many wonderful things about being a martyr. Catholic nun. It was a great experience. I wouldn't throw away not one of my subpersonalities as I uncover, the ones in the advanced stage.
I like that a lot because I can see why, my training cleaning the windows with a Q-tip comes in handy, because in my line of work, I am very detail oriented. I am very attentive.
Aren't you glad you have that attention to detail? And I love your glasses because you have a heart for this work too. I love that. I love that you're always so generous and easy with people. And I hear this over and over about your work. So I want to just let you know that your subpersonality has really done you well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So in closing, we need to have a cartoon of the day, and it is the Get You Happy On show. So I selected this cartoon just for you, Dr. Ann. So I'm going to have you read it on the screen. Just give me one moment. I'll pull it up. I think it's very in line with our theme for today. So here we go. Can you read that out loud for us?
If you're happy and you know it, stick with your dosage. Could I transform that and say, if you're happy and you know it, take your pill? If you're happy and you know it, take your pill. And I think take Ananditol, the one I ordered. That's cute. That's darling.
If you're happy and you know it, take an Anadol.
We'll see. Well, I'll report it whichever way it goes. And you're right. We need a little more research on it.
Absolutely. So I might need you to pull some strings to see how we might get that sponsor. A research study sponsored by Nanotol.
I would love to contact Mr. Wagner, who is the inventor of the supplement. He didn't invent anandamide because that's already invented. It's in your body. Everybody has it in their body. What he did was say, oh, I should be able to make a supplement out of this. And then he did.
And, I've been doing some side reading about inflammation, and I think about how, like our levels of anandamide might decrease as we age. And so if we were to take the supplement, it might help with that inflammation that we experience as we're aging. So
you're absolutely right. That's what they found, is it does lower as we age, like everything else. Gravity. Anyway, I think it's really it is one of the important points you bring out. As we age, we produce less of it. So we need to have a little, well, we have to have more vitamin D. Everybody's vitamin D deficient. And that's not even a vitamin, it's a hormone, they find out. But we have called it a vitamin for so long, I guess we're not going to stop. Anyway, yes, anandamide does get less and less as we age. And why not a supplement? I love it.
Yes, why not indeed? All right. Thank you once again, Dr. Ann, for being on here. Get You Happy on episode number 28. So thrilled to be able to continue these conversations with you and, possibly design a research study in the future. So that is my middle name, collaboration.
Yes, well, definitely we need that. And we'll talk to Mr. Wagoner sometime in the future. I'm hot on his trail too. I guess I have to go to Israel now.
Guess you will. All right, excellent. So please, if you enjoyed this conversation, get to know Dr. Ann and follow her work and be on the lookout for her book, The Soul Growth Solutions Playbook. And you can find all the information here on her website, askdrann.com. So please go ahead and connect with her. And also you can read more of her story as an immigrant daughter in the Cinderella monologue. So this book is available on Amazon as a paperback and ebook. So you can have your pick, order both if you like. But there's at least 4 stories of immigrant families, immigrant children experiences in there, and you're one of them. So, yes, so that's another way to get to know Dr. Ann too.
Well, our Soul Growth Solutions is targeted to be out by Christmas. So you can give a Christmas present to all your friends that you'd like to see transform themselves, or somebody who's suffering. It really is for people who want to relieve the adversity and to relieve their grief, to understand it. Understanding is half the battle. So thank you, Olivia, for being your usual gracious and enlightening self.
You are so welcome, Dr. Ann. My pleasure. So there you have it. Straight from Dr. Ann. Look for the Soul Growth Solutions out December, Christmas 2022. So we might just have you back on just to do a little promo for that. So keep that in mind.
I love it. Yeah, we have to launch. Okay. Thank you again.
Have a great day and stay tuned. We're wrapping up season 1 of Get You Happy On. So there's only 2 more episodes to go as we wrap up this year. So you want to be there for all of it. So see you next week for another fabulous episode. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much for watching Get Your Happy On. Have you enjoyed today's episode? I invite you to comment. So please share with us your thoughts and ideas in the comments. We'll be checking and would love to reply back to you. Please also connect. Connect with each of our amazing special guests and connect with each other here in the comments as well. This is a great way to network and to make new friends. And finally, collaborate. I would love to find ways to collaborate with you or help you to find collaborations with vast people in my network. So remember, comment, connect, and collaborate. Thank you again. See you next week.